Greetings, Eastgate Christian Church. I'm Reverend Rhonda Hetzel, and many refer to me just simply as Pastor Rhonda. Since we're currently unable to meet in person, your pastoral search committee asked me to speak to you in this way. And of course, I would have preferred to meet you in person, but we all must remain safe. And hopefully there'll be plenty of future opportunities. You may not have met me previously, but I have been familiar with your church since I began ministry, attending DMA meetings there at your church and working alongside Reverend Patty for many years as part of our Regional Commission Ministry Commission team. I have to say that I believe, above all, as we move forward with our discernment in the prospect of coming together, that it must be blessed by the Almighty. So I pray for each of us to be able to distinguish where God is leading and to respond accordingly. Now, as you may be aware, I served your sister church at Blue Ridge Boulevard before they sold their building. So I'm very familiar and have a good understanding of the needs in the community of Independence. In fact, the neighborhood in which I reside reminds me in some ways of the neighborhood that Eastgate is a part of. And I bring with me a passion for all people and a deep desire for relationship. Now, as I reviewed your church profile and introductory letter, a few things dawned on me, and even more so after I talked to your pastoral search committee, and I feel God's nudge. And let me explain. First, I recognize that we're both in a season that limits us in some way. And I believe that these shared experiences in ministry, along with the current constraints, connect well and gives us both the opportunity to be strengthened. And I see the possibility of growth together once we get past these limitations in the coming years, whatever that may look like. And knowing that the people of Eastgate worship beyond the walls of the physical building is really exciting to me. You see, I know it's not easy to do, especially when circumstance or financial issues cause concern. Our initial human inclination is often to circle the wagons. We have to draw in and hold close what we find most precious. But that's opposite of what God calls us to do. Eastgate is giving monetarily with gifts of service to share the love of Christ in their community. And for that, I am thankful. It is so close to my heart that we serve others and be the hands and feet of Christ. I also sense family at Eastgate. As Christians, many times you hear that we're referred to as brother or sister, but I think it takes more than a label to be a family. We have to have characteristics like grace and love, commitment and loyalty, and above all, forgiveness. Those are common in healthy family dynamics because families don't always agree. They sometimes get really messy. But when there's healthy respect and love, then we can talk through the differences in constructive ways. And that's what I'm most drawn to, the sense of true family who can pull together for the good of one another and the world around them. And so those are a few of the reasons I feel pulled towards Eastgate, and I'd love to hear your reasons as well. Let me share with you a little bit about my life journey. I was born and raised in a small town in Kansas. I'm the oldest of two children. My brother is 10 years younger, and my parents are happily married. My first introduction to the church was probably when I was a preschooler, my first memory at least, and that was when Mrs. Cook, the neighbor lady, invited me to go to church, more specifically to Sunday school, with her grandson. And I can remember being confused about why this guy named Jesus wanted money, because the lady came in during our Sunday school class, and she had this beautiful golden plate that I assumed had snacks on it, but no, she was wanting money, which I later found out was the offering, of course. But even though I didn't understand why that was happening at that moment, I understood how they made me feel. I felt loved and safe. I felt welcomed. And so as my love for God and my study in His Word deepened and expanded, my response was to give my life to the Lord by making my confession of faith and choosing baptism by immersion at age 9. So being one of God's children is my identity. And then throughout college, I felt led to teach, and I did so joyfully in different settings over numerous years. Those settings include public school, the Department of Defense dependent schools overseas, and later in the homeschool community. And my commitment to homeschooling brought to light a challenge to find employment while helping to support my family and taking care of what I need to take care of. Subsequently, my husband and I opened a home-based business, and I managed that business during those years to provide the much-needed income. But more importantly, that experience opened me to the possibility of creating opportunities when a need arises. In other words, that old adage, where there is a will, there is a way. Now, when I was first called to ministry, one of my first tasks was to create a youth group with a few kids of the church who were in that age group, including my own teens. And it was a difficult task because they didn't attend school together. These kids didn't know one another very well, but they quickly transformed from a group of youth to a family. And watching them grow together was incredible. Now, I attribute part of the transformation to their commitment to some covenants, decisions that they made together, but another part of it is the domestic mission trips that we went on together. We did home repairs for senior adults and those who are financially unable or those with disabilities. And what I really found and learned from that is working for Jesus is a great way to connect with others in the Christian faith. But it didn't take long for me to have revealed to me God's plan, which was bigger in my life. In 2013, I became a commissioned minister in our region, and that's when my ministry experience really matured. Overseeing programs in education and youth, my role in church evolved into an associate pastor position, and that allowed me to care for people of all ages and stages. I was there when a family had a new baby. I was there for our youth and our young families. I was there when people were struggling with serious health issues. And I was honored and humbled to be there for them when they were dealing with end of life. During my time growing in this position, my love of the church and its people grew stronger. I realized I'm an educator by training, but a minister by heart. Once again, then, God revealed to me the next steps on this journey, and I was accepted into seminary in 2018, seeking a Master of Divinity degree and seeking ordination. And although I have many years of experience in ministry, I eagerly continue this path as a lifelong learner. Now that I'm in the third year of seminary, I really understand and realize that there is benefit of having both formal education and contextual experiences from which to draw. It was at that time that I was concurrently called to pastor at Blue Ridge Boulevard to come alongside them as they discerned their future path. And sadly, it soon became apparent that the time had come for them to make those hard decisions, to sell the building and to discontinue worshiping together. But my time there was a blessing. It allowed me to further grow in ministry and leadership as a solo pastor. And when I departed from that wonderful congregation, I encouraged them to seek out worship at Eastgate under Pastor Joshua's care. Last year, I was accepted to the call of senior adult chaplain intern with Blue Valley Christian Church, and I knew going in this was a temporary 6-month calling, which was extended to a year. But I'm blessed to have had that because it furthered my knowledge and understanding of the needs of senior adults. I had education in younger people, but I needed that to help fill out some of the areas that I was weakest in. And I'm grateful for this experience because it gave me greater awareness and compassion for the physical, mental, and spiritual needs of senior adults, which are even more pronounced during this time of pandemic. It also provided me an opportunity to get some in-depth insight into their unique ministry model. Blue Valley and their pastor created a new model that most people are unfamiliar with. And as I said before, it was a perfect match for me because I believe in being a lifelong learner and I strive to continually study and better myself. So the culmination of all these ministry experiences had led me to contemplation and self-discovery. And I believe that my gifts are strongest when I'm working with people through one-on-one pastoral care situations or in small groups. Investing in relationships is a priority in my life and ministry because I appreciate all people, even those I don't agree with or understand. Additionally, I enjoy ethically teaching, preaching, planning worship, planning special services, and I believe that biblical knowledge comes through a lifetime of study, that it evolves as one enters into different phases of life. My faith means everything to me, and I strive to live out my Christian values in my daily life. I'm happy by nature and loving toward people, and I really resonate with the hymn, "They'll know we are Christians by our love." Speaking of love, I've been happily married for 28 years to my husband, who I met in college, and together we have 2 terrific grown children. Our life motto that our family lives by was actually passed on to us by my grandma Margie. She always said, "Rhonda, you're only as strong as you think you are." And this has helped remind us that along with our faith in God, we can overcome any obstacle together, no matter the circumstances, whether it was the outcome we wanted or not. I feel our family has been abundantly blessed, and I'm delighted that we each serve the Lord in our own ways. Now, what do I do for fun? When I'm not in ministry or learning environments, my favorite pastimes are just simply spending time with my family. They're my first priority behind God. But I also enjoy playing card and board games and dining out with friends. Well, at least pre-pandemic, most of it's takeout these days. I enjoy reading and fishing, although I don't do enough of that anymore. Boating, watching sitcoms or rom-coms, and travel. I will tell you, after years of international travel, I don't really travel by air if I can help it any longer. In fact, you'd be really hard-pressed to find me on a plane. It may take longer, but I enjoy driving over flying because, in part, you can stop and see the sights, kind of stop and smell the roses, so to speak. In ministry, they've identified 16 core competencies, and I identify my top 4 as pastoral care, education and spiritual formation, worship, and church administration and planning. And of these, pastoral care is almost certainly my greatest gift. I'm sensitive to the needs of others, and I strive to meet people where they are on their journey with Christ. Excuse me. I'm intuitive, but I'm not a mind reader. So if you ever need care, you will need to initiate a conversation with me, preferably when I'm not otherwise distracted, because I desire to give my full attention to you so that we build meaningful and lasting relationships. I also believe in the priesthood of believers, meaning that we are all ministers in the faith, serving our God in a way that the whole church provides ministry and service within the congregation and out into the community. Other characteristics I identify within myself are that I'm devoted, truthful, loyal, resourceful. For example, when the COVID-19 pandemic caused Blue Valley to be kept from entry into the living facility where they worship, I recognized and shared with their leadership that isolation and loneliness are leading factors in senior adult health. See, many of the residents don't have the ability to connect online. They don't have the ability to video chat. So in an attempt to counteract that, I initiated a pen pal program to enable two-way conversation. Sending cards and sending treats was great, but we needed the ability to talk both ways. I also suggested to the leadership that we visit outdoors with balloons and signs and do window visits. And as a team, we discussed this and we shaped it so that we put together a Sunday morning worship experience for this purpose, to let those who are most vulnerable know that they're not forgotten. Relationship building and maintaining those relationships is one of the things I feel most passionately about in my faith and service. In my messages, that's probably one of the recurring themes that you'll hear. In the Gospels, Jesus gives hope and purpose to relationships and to caring for the neighbor. It's in there in the two great commands. I'm sure you're familiar with it in Matthew. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest command. And the second is like it. Love love your neighbor as yourself. Likewise, I encourage relationships, but I also believe in allowing space for individuals to reflect within their self as to how they serve God. It's not for me to decide or to judge, but for you to determine where you are in your walk with the Lord. We each bring with us gifts of the Spirit, and we each make mistakes along the way. I find that it's not always easy to be refined by God's splendor, but I give thanks that we serve a God of compassion and mercy, one who never gives up on us. Now, as I close this message, I want to express to you that if you haven't picked up on it, I am a glass half full type of person. I'm happy by nature, and I try to find the positive in everything, but I will also acknowledge and voice potential obstacles. I will face challenges head on as a team with you. I like to see the big picture, and one of my sayings, I'm sure my kids got tired of hearing, was I live in the real world and I deal with real world experiences. I encourage open, honest, and kind interactions that result in constructive conversations. And I'm not easily offended, but I am a forgiving person. We're both contemplating now on whether God is calling us together, and with that, we both have responsibilities. So what I ask of you, should this relationship move forward, is that if you ever have a question or concern, something that you'd like to talk about, or something about me, please approach me first. Ask me the hard questions, because only then do I know what's on your mind and your heart, and together we can attend to it in healthy ways to strengthen us all for God's glory. I look forward to the day we can meet in person, and I'm excited that we are in this time of discernment to discover as God has called us together. May your day be blessed. In Jesus' name.